Iris Bell sat behind the reception desk of the Grand Astoria Hotel, the faint hum of air conditioning blending with the soft jazz playing through the lobby speakers. It was well past midnight, and the city outside slept beneath a thick blanket of fog. The hotel felt quieter now, the rush of daytime guests replaced by the occasional footsteps of late arrivals or early risers. Iris straightened a stack of brochures, her fingers brushing a smudge she quickly wiped away. She was tired but determined to maintain a warm smile. This night shift was one of many, but she took pride in making every guest feel welcome. Just as she prepared to update the booking screen, the revolving doors swished open with a crisp gust of cold air. A tall man stepped in, his tailored charcoal coat pulled tight against the chill. His sharp features were set with an impatience that seemed to cut through the calm. Iris looked up cheerfully, ready with a greeting. "Good evening, sir, welcome to the Grand Astoria. May I have your name, please?" He barely glanced her way, his eyes flicking over her uniform as if she were invisible. "Collins," he said shortly, clearly expecting swift service. Iris typed his name into the system, but before she could confirm his reservation or offer assistance, he interrupted with a brisk wave. "Just give me the key to the suite. I don't have time to waste." The tone was curt, dismissive, a clear message Ivy was not welcome in his world. She blinked, taken aback by the coldness, but complied, retrieving his key card with practiced ease. As she handed it over, she hesitated slightly. Something about the key's behavior and the reader didn't feel right. "Sir, if I may," she began cautiously, "there might be an issue with the key." He cut her off with a sharp look. "I don't need help from the receptionist. You don't belong behind that desk." Without waiting for a reply, he turned and strode toward the elevators, leaving Iris watching after him, a knot forming deep in her stomach. The night had only just begun, and already, it was clear this guest would be no easy challenge. Mr. Collins made his way to the bank of elevators with brisk, impatient steps, the faint click of his polished shoes betraying his urgency. Iris watched his retreating figure, a mixture of unease and resolve swelling within her. Something was definitely wrong with his key card. She had felt it the moment she tried to swipe it at the desk, the subtle resistance, like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Moments later, the sharp sound of a frustrated mutter came from the elevators. Iris glanced toward the glass doors and saw Collins tapping his card against the reader in front of the suite corridor, only to be met with a flashing red light and an unhelpful beep. "Damn it," he spat, louder than necessary, attracting the attention of a few late-night guests seated in the lounge. Heads turned, conversations paused. Iris moved quickly from behind the desk, her heels clicking softly on the marble floor as she approached. "Sir, are you having trouble with your key?" she asked gently, mindful of maintaining professionalism even as anxiety crept up her spine. Collins spun on his heel, his eyes narrowing at her. "Of course I am. What do you expect? This key doesn't work." His voice was sharp, dripping with insult. "Are you planning to fix it or do I need to find someone who can?" Her cheeks flushed at the sting of his tone, but she kept her voice steady. "I apologize for the inconvenience, sir. Let me check the system to see what's going on." She pulled out her handheld device and typed rapidly, fingers moving over the screen as the hotel's reservation management software hummed to life. The other guests nearby began watching the exchange with interest, whispers swirling quietly. Collins scoffed and crossed his arms, a posture that radiated disbelief that a woman at the desk could be of any real help. "This is ridiculous. How does a five-star hotel have receptionists who can't even get the key right?" Iris bit back the urge to respond with a retort. Instead, she met his gaze with unflinching calm. "Sir, I understand your frustration. Please let me handle this." The screen in her hand flickered, displaying the guest information tied to his reservation. Everything seemed in order at first glance until she tapped deeper into the system logs. "Sir," she said carefully, it appears there has been a double booking with your suite. The system locked access until we verify the availability. I'm sorry if you weren't informed earlier. Collins's face contorted with impatience and disbelief. Double booking? At this price? That's unacceptable. He abruptly turned his back to her and strode toward the reception desk again, craving the manager's presence. Iris felt the pressure like a tightening band around her chest. Other hotel staff were now hovering nearby, the concierge, a bellhop, even a security guard had been drawn by the disruption. The guests in the lounge exchanged uncomfortable glances, their whispers growing louder. Please wait here, sir, Iris said, trying to regain control. I'll contact the manager right away. Collins whipped around, his voice rising. Wait? I don't have time for waiting. Are you serious? Have you people no idea how valuable time is? His words hung in the air, sharp and cutting, as several guests flinched. One middle-aged woman shifted uneasily in her chair, clutching her handbag tightly. A young couple exchanged looks that mixed concern and irritation. The tendency for people to judge the receptionist as unimportant was evident. No one stepped forward to defend Iris. The atmosphere thickened with silent assumption that she was at fault. Iris pulled her phone from her pocket and dialed the manager. Hello, Mr. Lancaster? Yes, it's Iris Bell at the front desk. We have an issue with a guest suite key. Her voice was professional, but inside she burned with the humiliation Collins had caused. She glanced back at Collins, who was now leaning against the desk, tapping his fingers impatiently. He caught her gaze and gave a crooked sneer. I hope you're not the one who's going to solve this, he muttered bitterly. Minutes ticked by before Mr. Lancaster appeared, a tall man in his early 40s with a silver streak in his dark hair, exuding calm authority. He nodded at Iris and immediately turned his attention to Collins. What seems to be the problem, sir? He asked politely but with firmness. Collins launched into a tirade about his key card not working, the double booking. The manager listened, then turned to Iris for confirmation. We did detect a technical issue with the door lock configuration, she explained. I was informing Mr. Collins, but he declined to wait and insisted on immediate resolution. Mr. Lancaster's eyes flicked to Collins, then back to Iris. His expression was unreadable. I apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Collins. Let me see what we can do. Iris stepped back, relieved to have the manager handle the situation but still feeling the sting of humiliation. Eyes from guests and staff alike remained fixed on her, and a few discreetly shook their heads, as if to say this was all her fault despite the circumstances. Collins crossed his arms, his posture smug, as if he had already won. This better be quick, he snapped. The manager made some calls, coordinating with maintenance and security. Meanwhile, Iris hovered close by, unsure whether to stay or retreat behind the desk. Her heart pounded, every head in the lobby seemingly watching. I'm sorry for the trouble, ma'am, one concierge whispered as he passed, making polite eye contact but offering no real comfort. The hum of murmured conversations about the episode swelled. One guest muttered, reception should be better prepared. Another voice mentioned, she's just the girl at the front desk, underscoring the unspoken social hierarchy that discounted Iris's role and competence. Iris clenched her jaw against the rising tide of shame. She wanted to disappear, to sink out of view. Yet a stubborn ember of pride kept her upright. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the manager returned with an amended key card and a solution. But Mr. Collins was not placated. His tone was sharp with lingering bitterness. Next time, make sure you don't treat customers like children. I expect better. Iris nodded, handing over the new key. As Collins strode away again toward the suite corridor, she retreated behind the desk, shoulders heavy. The lobby fell into a tense silence, guests turning back to their conversations but glancing over at her once more. A bellhop approached quietly, Don't let him get to you, Miss Bell. You did what you could. Iris managed a weak smile. Thank you. It's just, sometimes it feels like none of this matters if they don't see you. Her voice was low, fragile. The night seemed to deepen around her. The ordeal left her unsettled, her competence questioned, her dignity bruised, and her future in the hotel uncertain against the shadow of Mr. Collins's condescension. As the buzz of uneasy energy filled the lobby, Iris wondered how she could reclaim her confidence, and whether she would find a way to turn this moment around before the night ended. What would you do if you were in Iris's position, facing such disregard and rudeness? Would you let it defeat you or find a way to rise above? The tension in the Grand Astoria lobby had settled into a thin veil of awkward silence as Mr. Collins disappeared down the corridor toward his suite with the new key card. Guests began to return to their seats, conversations resuming but at a muted tone, words punctuated by occasional glances toward the reception desk where Iris still stood. The hotel staff, too, exchanged furtive looks. The manager, Mr. Lancaster, gave a subtle nod of reassurance to Iris, but there was an unspoken sense that the night was far from over. Iris exhaled deeply and glanced at the glowing screen in front of her. The problem with Mr. Collins's key hadn't been as simple as a malfunctioning card. There was more. The double booking, the door locking automatically, it all felt like pieces of a puzzle she hadn't yet fully put together. Her curiosity and professional pride stirred quietly beneath the exhaustion. She asked the manager if she might access the hotel's internal security and booking systems more deeply. With a slight frown but a grudging nod, Mr. Lancaster stepped aside. Be careful, Iris. Let me know if you find anything. Taking a deep breath, Iris logged into the security dashboard. Cameras blinked to life on the screen, showing hallways, entrances, and even the suite doors. Just as she navigated toward the locked suite, an alert popped up. A flag in the booking system linked to Mr. Collins's reservation noted a conflict. The room was indeed booked for 2 guests by mistake. The software had mismanaged a recent system update, locking the access until maintenance cleared it. She clicked through the access logs and found that the door's electronic lock had been triggered to deny entry automatically for safety reasons, a feature meant to avoid 2 guests trying to access the same suite simultaneously. But the glitch hadn't been clarified to the front desk staff before Collins's arrival. Iris's pulse quickened with a mix of satisfaction and frustration. She found the root of the problem, a technical oversight, no fault of her own. The question now was how to fix it before things escalated further. Mr. Lancaster, she called, rising from her chair. The manager approached swiftly, brows knit in concern. Sir, I'd like to propose a solution, she began, voice steady but firm. The double booking caused the system to lock Mr. Collins's key. The maintenance team is already working on it, but it may take some time. In the meantime, I'd like to offer him an immediate upgrade to one of our premium suites. He deserves nothing less. Mr. Lancaster's lips twitched in a small, appreciative smile. Go ahead, Iris. Let's see if that helps. Iris picked up the phone and called Mr. Collins back to the front desk. His appearance was abrupt, his posture rigid as he sauntered forward, clearly expecting another frustration. Mr. Collins, Iris began politely yet with newfound confidence, I've reviewed the situation, and it seems there's a system error causing the issue with your key. To make up for the inconvenience, we'd like to upgrade you to one of our premium suites immediately. It's ready and waiting for you. Collins's eyes narrowed, suspicious yet intrigued. An upgrade? Why should I accept that after this nonsense? Because, Iris said, meeting his gaze evenly, we value your time and comfort, and I'm committed to making this right. The lobby seemed to hold its breath as Mr. Collins hesitated, then finally nodded curtly. Fine. Show me the suite. Guests watching exchanged surprised looks. The woman they had just seen endure his scorn now stood tall, offering a solution instead of surrendering to humiliation. The manager smiled discreetly from the side, clearly impressed. Iris led Mr. Collins toward the elevators, her heels tapping quietly but confidently. As the doors closed behind them, a murmur of approval spread among the waiting guests and staff. Later that night, after the upgraded room was secured and Mr. Collins settled with reluctant acceptance, the manager approached Iris again. "Excellent work," Mr. Lancaster said, genuine respect in his tone. "You handled a very difficult situation with professionalism and grace. We might all have learned something tonight." Iris felt a flush of relief and pride swell inside. Despite the evening's earlier pain, she had not only stood her ground but also turned the situation to the hotel's advantage. Several guests came forward to compliment her courtesy and composure, their earlier skepticism replaced by warm admiration. One elderly gentleman said with a smile, "You handled that better than most, young lady." The bellhop who had spoken kindly before grinned. "You showed Mr. Collins what real class looks like." Back at the desk, Iris slipped into a seat, momentarily weary but emotionally fortified. She allowed herself a brief smile, a quiet celebration of the victory that had seemed so unlikely earlier. The ripple effect was immediate and unmistakable. Mrs. Parkins, a frequent guest who prided herself on discretion, nodded approvingly at Iris during check-in. The concierge made a point of stopping by to express his support. Even the security guard, generally stoic, gave an encouraging thumbs up. In the privacy of the manager's office, Mr. Lancaster confided quietly, "Iris, you have a keen mind and calm presence. This could be just the start of something bigger." His words ignited something in her, a spark of renewed hope. The night wore on, and guests trickled in and out with various requests. Iris handled each one with the same calm efficiency she had summoned from Mr. Collins. Yet her thoughts lingered on the man himself. His initial arrogance had wilted under her quiet competence. It was a reminder that sometimes people's facades cracked when met with steady dignity. Iris's phone buzzed softly. A message from a coworker popped up, "Saw what happened. Proud of you, Iris. Keep shining." She smiled again, her fingers tapping a quick reply before turning back toward the busy front desk screen. The lobby's atmosphere had shifted. The night was no longer a test of endurance but a stage set for quiet triumph. As dawn edged toward the horizon and the first soft light filtered in through the curtains, Iris felt a calm certainty settle around her. She had faced dismissal and disdain and emerged not just unbroken but elevated. She glanced toward the elevator doors and thought of Mr. Collins, comfortably ensconced in a larger, more luxurious room. The irony was not lost on her. His entry had been blocked by an error, but it was her insight and grace that ultimately opened the door to resolution. The guests milling about the lobby, once skeptical and whispering, now offered nods of respect. Staff who had doubted her capability now looked on as an equal. In that quiet moment, Iris understood something vital. Respect was earned not through grand gestures, but through steady integrity, calm wit, and a refusal to be dismissed. The night had tested her. She had won. What would you have done in Iris's shoes? Would you have stood firm and sought a way to solve the problem? Share your thoughts below. And remember, if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. See you in our next story. As the early morning light gently filled the hotel lobby, Iris Bell took a moment behind the front desk to breathe, her gaze drifting to the quiet elegance around her. The polished marble floors gleamed softly, and the floral arrangements freshened the air with subtle jasmine. Many guests had come and gone since the turbulent hours with Mr. Collins, but the memory of his arrogance lingered still, not as a shadow, but as a contrast that underscored her quiet resilience. After the commotion had settled, Mr. Lancaster, the manager, had invited Iris into his office for a brief conversation. Behind the closed doors, away from prying eyes, she felt an unexpected warmth, a recognition of her true potential. "Iris," Mr. Lancaster began, folding his hands on the desk, "tonight you didn't just perform your duties, you shone. But I want you to know that you're far more than the role you currently hold here." She looked down at her hands for a moment before meeting his eyes. "Thank you, sir," she said softly. "I suppose most people only see the receptionist, not the person behind the desk." He smiled knowingly. "There's a story there, I'm sure." Iris hesitated, then decided that why not share a part of herself with someone who clearly valued her. "I have a degree in hospitality management from a top university. After graduating, I was fortunate to work in leadership roles at major hotels overseas. But a few months ago, I returned home to care for my mother who's been ill. I took this receptionist position to stay close and keep my foot in the industry." Her voice carried a mixture of pride and humility, revealing layers hidden beneath the simple uniform and tired eyes. "This job isn't a setback, it's a stepping stone. I've learned that every role, no matter how small it seems, is important. And it's taught me patience and appreciation for the little things." Mr. Lancaster nodded appreciatively. "That's an admirable perspective. I'm glad you shared it with me. We need people like you who understand the bigger picture." The honesty didn't stop there. She confided how, despite the night's challenges, she felt renewed. While she wore simple attire tonight, a modest blouse and skirt, no jewelry or makeup beyond a touch of lip balm, her spirit was anything but diminished. In fact, stripping away the trappings of status had sharpened her resolve and showcased a strength that no expensive suit could replicate. Later, during a quiet moment in the back office, a colleague named Simone stopped by. Simone, the concierge, was always impeccably dressed and seemed to glide effortlessly through the hotel's social circles. Yet her eyes held genuine warmth. "Iris," Simone said, folding her arms with a playful smile. "I heard about Mr. Collins's little meltdown. You handled it like a pro. Not many would have the nerve." Iris chuckled softly. "Nerve, or just the desperate need to survive a long night?" They shared a laugh before Simone leaned in slightly. "You know, when I first saw you, I thought you were just some temp or part-timer. But there's something different about you. You don't just do the job, you understand the people behind it." That simple validation struck a chord. Iris realized that her modesty and the fact she hadn't flaunted her background had allowed others to underestimate her, until her actions spoke louder than appearances. Later still, back at the front desk, Iris found herself reflecting on her journey. For years, her work had been defined by prestigious titles and accolades, but the recent choice to prioritize family care, and now this humble role, redefined success in a way only life's unpredictability could teach. She reached for a worn notebook from her bag, one where she'd carefully logged experiences and insights. On its first page, she had written a quote she loved: "Character is how you treat those who can do nothing for you." Her smile deepened at the truth in those words. Tonight had tested her character, revealing the purity of her intentions even under duress. The guests streaming through the lobby now greeted her with friendly nods and smiles rather than scrutiny. Word of her professionalism and empathy was quietly spreading, breaking down old misconceptions. Mr. Collins, she had learned, was a regular who often let his impatience and privilege cloud his judgment. But tonight, she transformed from a background figure into the person who could resolve a problem that even management had to acknowledge. What lay ahead was uncertain, but a sense of possibility shimmered in the air. Iris planned not only to sustain the family care she'd undertaken but also to return to leadership roles when the time was right. Her experiences in those quieter hours proved that resilience and grace were crucial to every story. There was also a gentle anticipation building within her. Mr. Lancaster had hinted at upcoming openings in the hotel's management team. Her name was on his mind, no longer as the receptionist who was easy to overlook but as a future leader who had shown resourcefulness and heart. As Iris boxed up paperwork and prepared for the next shift to arrive, she felt a calm satisfaction. This chapter of her life was not an end but part of a broader narrative woven with patience, strength, and quiet determination. While she dressed simply, Her presence now carried the weight of life's lessons and ambitions too bright to be dimmed by a single night's trials. The hotel was more than a workplace. It had become a stage where her resilience could shine in unforeseen ways. The stillness of the dawn echoed in the quiet lobby. Iris paused, looking out the grand windows at the soft awakening city. Somewhere beyond was the life she'd paused but not abandoned. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, poised, calm, and ready. The night had unveiled more than a technical glitch or an arrogant guest's temper. It had revealed Iris Bell's strength, her story, and the promise of what was yet to come. And in that promise, she found her true beginning. The days following the incident with Mr. Collins unfolded with a subtle but undeniable shift in the atmosphere at the Grand Astoria. The echoes of that fraught night gradually gave way to a new rhythm, one marked by respect and quiet acknowledgement. Iris Bell's poise during the ordeal had left a strong impression on both the hotel staff and management, challenging preconceived notions one conversation at a time. For Mr. Collins, the consequences were subtle but firm. The hotel's senior management convened to review the incident, a rare escalation prompted by one guest's complaint but tempered by Iris's composed handling. While he was a valued client, his dismissive treatment of staff could not be overlooked. One morning, the hotel's general manager called Collins into the office, making it clear, yet professional. "Mr. Collins, we appreciate your patronage, but respect for our employees is non-negotiable," the manager said. "We've upgraded your accommodations to compensate for last week's inconvenience, and we hope the rest of your stay reflects the standards we uphold here. Any further disrespectful behavior toward our team will result in restrictions." Collins stiffened but nodded, the sharp edge of his entitlement blunted. A hint of humility flickered behind his guarded expression, as if the evening with Iris had unsettled his usual certainty. Back at the reception desk, Iris noticed the subtle difference in his demeanor during his subsequent visits, less imperious, more cautious. Whether his change was genuine or strategic, she remained unshaken. Her own recognition deepened. The hotel management officially commended her during a staff meeting, praising not only her quick thinking but also her tact and calm in a high-pressure situation. "Ms. Bell exemplifies the spirit of Grand Astoria," Mr. Lancaster declared. She turned a potentially damaging moment into a testament to professionalism and grace. The applause that followed surprised Iris. She wasn't accustomed to such attention, but she accepted it quietly, nodding her thanks to the supportive colleagues surrounding her. Among the guests, word traveled too. Several stopped by the front desk just to thank her for the courteous service and smooth handling of the incident. One elderly gentleman, known to frequent the hotel, paused to tell Iris, "You handled that man's temper with the patience of a saint. This place is lucky to have you." Those small affirmations stitched together a fabric of confidence around Iris, slowly dissolving the residual sting from the night Mr. Collins had dismissed her. Though modest in her appearance, a simple blouse and soft smile, there was now a steadfast strength visible beneath the surface. She was walking a path that balanced her immediate duties with the knowledge of her greater potential. In quiet moments, she reflected on how the undervaluing of people based on appearance or role was a silent undercurrent in many places. Yet, as her experience had shown, true capability waited to be recognized beyond first impressions. One afternoon, as she updated the reservation system, Mr. Lancaster approached with an inviting look. "Iris, I want to offer you a supervisory position in guest services. It's a role that fits your talents and experience perfectly." Her heart leapt with surprise and gratitude. "I'd be honored, sir. I look forward to the challenge." The promotion wasn't just a professional milestone, it was a personal vindication. The receptionist who had been ignored, dismissed, even belittled by a difficult guest, was now stepping into leadership. The hotel's atmosphere around her shifted subtly. No longer was she a background figure but a valued team member with voice and influence. Meanwhile, Mr. Collins's visits became increasingly measured. His entitlement gave way to a grudging respect, though he rarely offered a direct apology. The manager noted the change and reported it quietly to Iris. At a small staff gathering to celebrate her promotion, Iris took a moment to address her colleagues. Her voice was steady, sincere. "I want to thank everyone who supported me through that night. It's a reminder that respect and kindness aren't just nice ideas, they're essential. We all deserve to be seen for who we are beneath appearances." Her words were met with warm applause, a shared recognition of the struggles and triumphs beneath everyday roles. Later that evening, after the hotel had quieted, Iris sat in the empty lobby, reflecting on the whirlwind of recent days. She thought about the arrogance of being ignored, the frustration of feeling invisible, and the power of rising through dignity and quiet strength. The night had tested her in uncomfortable ways, but it also had revealed her resilience and talent. As she prepared to leave for the day, Iris glanced once more at the lobby's grand windows. The city lay stretched out beyond, alive, complicated, filled with people she'd never meet but whose struggles mirrored her own in small ways. She smiled softly, knowing that tomorrow would bring its own challenges and triumphs. To those listening to her story, she hoped it carried a message: never underestimate the quiet power of perseverance. Everyone deserves respect, and sometimes, standing tall in the face of dismissal changes more than just one night. What would you have done if you were Iris? Would you have held your ground or walked away? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. And if this tale inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in our next story.